Hi, and welcome to this quick tool review. And I've run across some interesting tools this time around, so let's get right into it. First up is a machinist-made grinding jig. Beautiful looking thing, hardened and ground with a couple brackets to hold items into the corner here. And it's drilled and tapped all the way around. It's a beautiful thing. Don't know what more to say about it. It's really handy because you can hold parts in a bunch of different ways on the surface grinder or milling machine. So if you've got something round, you can hold it in the corner and press it into the corner, which is relieved, like so. That one's not quite long enough for something this diameter, which is interesting because that one is. In any case, so you can hold something in round like that. You can hold something sideways over here. All kinds of uses for this unusual jig. So I picked it up. Looks like it's going to be really handy. I have needed to grind the top flat and parallel of some pins a bunch of times, and this will work great for the pins. One of my very first projects when I started machining on my own, when I got out of school, was to make this this milling machine stop, and it still works great. Have no complaints about it, other than it's a little bit tedious to set up. Not terrible. You've got lots of Allen screws, and I wasn't able to use the same size Allen screw everywhere, mostly everywhere, but not quite. So it's very functional, and it doesn't have any major issues with it, but I thought I would check out one of these inexpensive copy stops that you can find on eBay. So I picked one of these up. It was $20-something, which is insane because, again, I probably could barely buy the materials for that, and it's anodized. They come with replaceable handles up here so that you can have a quick release if you want, if you don't want to use a Allen wrench to tighten it. And it's an adjustable mill stop that it only takes a couple of adjustments to set everything. So the one on the bottom not only sets the angle for this, but it also tightens the block. And then the one on top sets the angle here, sets the spacing here, and tightens it. And maybe that's too much in one part. I don't really know. It may be too much, or it might be really convenient, so I thought I'd give it a shot. My design has a separate Allen screw for every adjust. Allen screw for this height adjust. There's a brass piece on the inside of this Allen screw that pushes against here. Same with all of these. You can see the brass insert down the center of the Allen screw. It has a separate one for this adjustment, a separate one for here, and a separate one to tighten it in place. Now maybe that's going to be more convenient when you're trying to get something exactly where you want it. I'm not sure. I thought I'd give this a try. It was inexpensive enough that my expenditure may help one of you if it turns out to be good. So watch for this in future videos, and I'll let you know what I think of it. One more thing, as I was looking to put the adjustable handle in here, I ran across an interesting bit. Look at this Allen screw. I wonder if they just forgot to drill and broach in the Allen screw head for this, because otherwise you'd have to tighten it with a pliers. That's really odd. There's no flats on it or anything. That's pretty weird. Maybe that's what you get for 20-something bucks, where just making any one of these parts could have cost that much if you have to do it in your home shop. I think this handle is going to be more convenient in general. However, it may get in the way, but it is kind of one of those knobs that you can move around. So once it's tightened down, you can pick its position to get it out of the way. So I think it'll be all right. That is definitely more convenient than the other screw. This is an odd find. Next up is a really interesting tool to measure very small hole diameters, and I thought it was kind of neat, so I picked it up. The price was right. Sometimes tools are esoteric enough that people kind of give them away. So this one is a direct reading dial indicating, made by Toyo hole check. It comes with a 78 thousandths precision gauge, and you just push it up flush to the bottom. There's a precision ground conical point on the end that obviously will measure different diameters. Now there's limitations to this, of course, because it's only going to measure the narrowest part and ignore the rest of the hole. So if you have one part that's just a little bit more narrow than the rest, it's going to measure that first, so that's a risk. And I guess that's common with a lot of measurement devices anyways, but it also only measures the outside unless you have a bigger hole around it. So if you have a bigger hole going to a smaller hole, no, even that won't work, because you have to be able to put it up flat against the base here. So it only measures the outside diameter of a hole. So if it's a tapered one, you're kind of out of luck. But you see, when I push this up flush against the bottom, you can read 78. If it was off, you could just loosen this and make it match. So let's see, from my angle, that's 78. And then you just put this down until it goes flush with whatever item you're measuring, and you can measure really small hole diameters. And I thought that was such a really interesting design that I thought, what the heck, I'll take it. It came with a little mini granite block. I'm not quite sure what this is. This is ground and lapped. It looks like it's mirror finish. That must have something to do with setting on this guy, but it doesn't go down to 0, so I can't push it all the way down. So I'm not quite sure what the point of this granite block was. I might have to look up on the Mitsubishi Toyo website and see if I can find out some more information. But this is a really cool tool find, and again, the price was right because it's esoteric enough that I guess they didn't think they could sell it for more, but I'm very pleased to have it. In case you're wondering, this is another tool for measuring really small hole sizes, but every 2/1000 requires a separate end adapter. So you can only measure, you need a ton of these precision made pieces to measure the end. It's got a pin that goes up the center. I think it works by measuring the expansion of a split piece or something like that. I actually haven't used these. I got these a while ago. This one's 28 thousandths. This one is 36 thousandths. The one that's on here is 32 thousandths. And it only measures a very short range, 2 thousandths. The set comes with an indicator, a Millimesh 50 millionths indicator, very nice. This is just a beautiful tool. I got it because I loved the design and how beautiful it was. Comes with a precision gauge for setting each size properly. Accurate to 40 millionths. Made in Germany. So that's another solution for really small holes. I'm kind of intrigued. I would think that you need some sort of microscope, measuring microscope, to do really small holes. Precision and small things kind of fascinate me because they're exceptionally difficult to achieve. Next up is my odd collection of surface comparator gauges. The first one I bought, which was an inexpensive Chinese-made one. It's well ground and finished. It's a little clunky, and the cinches don't hold particularly tightly and self-loosen, so not a great design. I think it was something like 20 bucks. I've never used it much. It was my first purchase when I started out machining. And then I found these two used ones. This one I believe is a Starrett, even though it doesn't have any labeling on it anywhere. It may have been machinist made and then painted red to match Starrett's red. It's a neat design. It does tighten up pretty darn well. You get very rigid. So it's got the Starrett fit and finish. Whoever made it did a really nice job. Also, there's this one, which is another beautiful one. Also gets reasonably tight when you cinch it down. Has a good fine adjustment. Both these style, actually all of these are cantilever adjustment style, designed for fine adjust. So the mount for the rod is on a pivot in the center, and you got a thumb screw with a spring on and a spring on the other side, and a thumb screw on this side, and then it sets the height. These are all interesting designs. They all have pins that push through the bottom. This one has 2 pins that push through the bottom. This one has 4 pins that push through the bottom to line up, I guess, against the edge of something. It's kind of an interesting design. This one has roll pins, which is kind of a crappy design, but again, it was inexpensive, and you know, that's what you get. Recently, I found this guy, and I was looking for a Hermann Schmidt. I'd like to own a Hermann Schmidt anything just to say I did. His stuff is all really beautifully made. So besides being functional, it's aesthetically beautiful. That's a great combination. This stand is incredibly rigid. It has a flat ground spot on the front to measure off of. It doesn't have a large radius, which I really would like, so I may grind this off and put a large radius part. That way you can find the high point and do squareness checking with it. I have a squareness checker already, so I don't absolutely need that feature, but it's really nice. The back of the unit, this is identical to the Hermann Schmidt in almost every way. Uses a big piece of spring steel on the back. The top part's floating on the spring steel with a set screw to push against the spring steel. Really fine threads. This is a Brown & Sharp. It's ground beautifully, and it's patented, which makes me wonder about the Hermann Schmidt. Did Hermann Schmidt copy Brown & Sharp, or what happened there? The knobs on the column press against brass shim pieces. It slides very easily, and then with a little bit of torque, it's incredibly rigid. This is a beautiful design, and I think I will be selling these in the future because I don't need that many surface transfer gauges. This one will probably do everything I need. I may keep just one other for odd instances when you need like a long reach, maybe this Starrett copy one. But beautiful find. I've never been able to own a Hermann Schmidt anything. There was one used Hermann Schmidt for sale, going for about 2/3 the price of a brand new one with lots of surface corrosion. And so obviously, knowing me, I can't stand surface corrosion, so I did not get that one. I got the Brown & Sharp instead, which was slightly more than the Hermann Schmidt, no less, but beautifully made. Next up, I am trying out a set of lubricants and cutting fluids from Boeing developed. It's called Bow Lube. It's by the Orlube Corporation. The nice thing about it is that all the ingredients in these are made from makeup safe ingredients, so they're all non-toxic. This one is a water-soluble microemulsion machining fluid, non-toxic synthetic clear microemulsion. So you can dilute this with water to use as a cutting fluid around the shop. This one is an already diluted solution. This is a paste, and this is a stick. One thing that I'll be curious to know is what it smells like when it burns, because I've been using Cool Tool 2 forever. Boy, that's a mouthful to say. Cool Tool 2. It is fine until you burn it, and then it smells horrible. So when it gets really hot on the lathe or the milling machine, it's just absolutely horrible. So I'm looking for an alternative. This one, it's also non-toxic, but this one's non-toxic. With this one, you can dilute it down, or not dilute it down, but titrate it to a neutral pH when you're done using it, and it can be disposed of in the sewer without any problems, provided it's not against your local ordinances. But they tell you how to dilute it here to pH of 7, which is neutral, by adding acid to it, so it's slightly basic. Anyways, one thing that matters is what these things smell like, and I didn't know that. I just wanted to try it. I read about this, and I've been kind of curious to try it. So that one has no smell whatsoever. So that's potentially a plus, so it matters what is it going to be like when it burns. So this paste is sort of waxy. That's interesting. This one's kind of a trick to get the lid off. Also has no smell whatsoever. Drill bits, reamers, grinding bands, circular handsaw blades, deburring tools. They have larger containers. I got small ones so I could try it out. So I will let you know. Another lubricant out there, cutting paste, I guess, that works pretty well is Anchor Lube, water-based. You can get it directly from the company or one of the distributors on eBay. I would recommend Stan Zinkowski over at Barzy Industrial. Stan is a distributor for Anchor Lube, and you'd help out a fellow YouTuber. This stuff smells good and works quite well. You only use a tiny amount of it, and it doesn't seem to leave a residue on things, so this one is great. This one is good for cutting, tapping. I've used it for all kinds of things. It does dry out a little bit. That's one negative side, but it works pretty well. So recommend that you try this one as well. Thanks for watching. Hope you find it useful. Hope to see you next time.